So today we're going to be taking a look at the 2024 Kawasaki ZZR1400. We're going to discuss kind of what the differences are. We're going to discuss how I feel about it and whether or not it's a motorcycle that you should buy. So, of course, the biggest difference here is the look. This might be Honda's influence, because I know that recently they went through a classic kind of look with their fire blades. I think it was last year or the year before, something like that. So this might have rubbed off on Kawasaki a little bit. And I have to say, I actually really do like the look of this model. The color scheme for me works really, really well. But I'm actually disappointed in more ways than I like it, because it hasn't changed. The bike itself is exactly the same internally as the 2012 model. So this is not a refreshed model. It's not an up-to-date model or an updated model. This is the same bike that you could have got in 2012, except now it's got this admittedly nice but frankly useless paint job. But this is apparently also going to be rolled out to the ZX-14R, the ZX-6R, and the ZX-10R. So if you do want this kind of look, then fret not, because this bike isn't going to be available in the UK from new. Simple as that. If you live in the US or outside of Europe, then you'll be absolutely fine. But here in the UK, no, unfortunately you're not going to be able to get hold of this particular model. But you will with the others that I've just mentioned, which is a pretty good thing. And believe it or not, these bikes are actually a lot more modern than the ZZR1400 is. They've got a lot more tech gizmos. They are far more refined. And, I mean, the ZX-10R is probably quicker these days than a ZZR1400. So, yes, as much as I like the look of it and as much as I'm bummed out that we're not going to see it here in the UK, I'm not that upset about it, really, because nothing has really changed. I don't know. I mean, none of the internals have changed. It is pretty much exactly the same. I mean, it says here, beneath the skin, this bike is little changed from before, meaning it still features that buttery smooth 1441cc inline 4 with DHOC and 4 valves per cylinder, 6-speed gearbox, slip assist clutch, 2 power modes, and 3 levels of traction control, including being able to turn it off, which is the same as what I've got. Mine's a 2016 model. It's exactly the same. It's no different. I mean, the only difference between mine and this one is I've got the Kawasaki exhaust, which is part of the performance sport model. I imagine that this 2024 version of this bike is going to come with a Kawasaki exhaust if you decide to buy a performance sport upgraded model, upgraded edition, whatever you want to call it. Not that it is that much of an upgrade. It's just changes the sound of the bike a little bit and not much else. In terms of performance, it's all exactly the same. So don't feel bad if you, I don't know, if for whatever reason you can't stretch in your budget to get a performance sport model. You won't really see much of a difference, to be perfectly honest with you, and you're still getting that nice paint job. So what else does Visor Down say about this bike here in this article? Kawasaki's recent retro revival liveries, is that the word? Have been big news since being announced this autumn. They mated arguably Kawasaki's most iconic paint job to its biggest sport bike models and blessed them with a naked aluminium frame. There is, though, one name in this list that is missing that leaves a bit of a lump in our collective throats. Across the pond, the ZZR1400, or ZX-14 as the Americans call it, is alive and kicking and has also been updated for the 2024 model year with its own special 40th anniversary paint job. It's finished in the tricolour paint scheme with green, white, blue stripes, being joined by that gorgeous naked aluminium frame and matte back silencer. And this might be the case of us always wanting what we can't have, but we think it's probably the best looking bike in the 40th anniversary lineup. Interesting, okay. The others obviously look great, but this 3-color design is most closely associated with the bikes like the ZX-R750 and ZX-R250 sibling, with the ZZR1400 being the most retro of the lot. That green, white and blue paint job has never looked better. Yeah, I think I agree. I think the reason why this paint job is going to look as good as it does on this bike is because the look of this bike hasn't really changed since the mid-2000s. I mean, they've made slight changes between the first and second generation in terms of the way it looks, but for the most part, it is pretty much exactly the same aesthetic-wise. So yeah, you're looking at a motorcycle from that was designed basically in the mid-2000s. But that is pretty much it. I mean, annoyingly for us anyway, the new Kawasaki 2024 ZX-14R Ninja will command a list price of $17,249 or £14,194. So there's kind of no point in them putting that in there because we are not going to see it. But it is interesting nonetheless, and of course every single year I think Kawasaki have been releasing new paint schemes for this motorcycle, but yeah, ever since, what was it, 2021, maybe 2022, we haven't seen it here in the UK, unfortunately enough for us. But like I kind of said, this motorcycle hasn't changed all that much, so honestly, right now, and this is me saying this, all right, I own a ZZR1400 and I've bought Kawasaki motorcycles for my entire riding career, all right. I wouldn't buy this bike. If you're looking to buy a new motorcycle and you live in the United States or you live elsewhere in the world outside of Europe where you can actually buy one of these, I wouldn't. I would actually buy the Hayabusa over this. The Hayabusa, this might be a little bit faster than the Hayabusa. On the street, on the roads you're going to be riding, you're not going to feel a blind bit of difference. So personally, I'd buy a Hayabusa over the ZZR1400. At least if you're buying it from new, anyway. I'm going to put that out there, all right? If you're buying used, of course, then, yeah, you've got a little bit more choice there and budget and age and things like that. But if you're going to buy them brand new, personally, the Hayabusa has a lot more to offer. Performance is on par, if not very similar, but it's just all those modern tech features. I'm a bit of a tech guy myself. I like having that kind of stuff. I like having the quick shifter. I like having the TFT dash. I like having the cruise control, the launch control, all that good stuff, which the modern Hayabusa has, and this one doesn't. This is a 2024 motorcycle, and they couldn't put in a TFT dash. Really easy. It could have kept the exact same thing, right? But instead of having the kind of digi display that they've got in all the models since inception, I think, since the first generation, it's had the same display. Just change that to a TFD. It'll totally change the look of the cockpit and the feel of the cockpit. It'll just make it so much more modern. And they wouldn't have to change the engine. Everything in the engine can be exactly the same. They wouldn't need to do anything to it. It's buttery smooth. It is perfect. It's a really, really good engine. Even by today's standards, it's a really, really good engine. But a quick shifter, an electronic throttle, for cruise control, you know, I like cruise control, okay? I mean, it can be kind of useless on bikes, but when you're doing those long journeys or motorway journeys, that cruise control could be an absolute lifesaver. You know what I mean? They could have done just a few little things. They wouldn't have to redesign the whole bike. Just do a few little things to it, and that would make all the difference. That would bring people back to looking at this motorcycle as a potential buy in 2024. But as it sits, as it stands currently, it doesn't. It's not that saleable in my opinion. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's a relic. This motorcycle now is really looking dated at this point. Not because of the way it looks either, just because of everything. I know that there are some riders out there that are going to be attracted by the fact that it hasn't got these tech features. I know that some riders are going to be attracted to it, but if we're being perfectly honest here, the vast majority of consumers, when it comes to motorcycles, they want the latest, greatest. They want the tech gizmos, especially when you are paying the price tag that you are for one of these things. All right, $17,000. Probably by the time it's on the road, you know, 15K, 15.5K on the road. Right, that's probably what you're looking at, and you're not getting the best of the best. In terms of ride quality, in terms of the actual experience of riding, which is what motorcycles all do, right? That's the primary thing that all bikes have got to do, right? They've got to be able to ride good. This is second to none. The experience on this bike is absolutely second to none. But the tech is a letdown. I'm not going to lie. When you're looking at any other motorcycle in Kawasaki's range, whether in the UK, Europe, all the rest of the world, this is by far the least attractive motorcycle in terms of its modernness, if you know what I mean. Yeah, it's old. It's an old model now, and maybe when they ditched it here in the UK, they should have ditched it around the rest of the world. That's just my opinion, but I really don't know if this bike is going to sell all that well, especially when you've got the likes of the Hayabusa. It's a no-brainer in my opinion. If you're going to buy new, or even bikes for the last 3 years, alright? If you're going to buy a 2021 Hayabusa or a 2021 ZX-14, get the Hayabusa. It's just better. It is just better. In my opinion, but based on the spec sheet, based on the features, based on reviews that I've seen of the Hayabusa, yeah, if I was to buy one today, right now, it'd be a Hayabusa. I mean, the funny thing is, like, I bought my ZZR 2020, so about 3 years ago now, 3-4 years ago. I can't remember if it's 2019 or 2020, something like that. But if that third generation Hayabusa had come out, it would have been an expensive purchase, but I would have been more tempted by that than the ZZR at the time. But you know, that's just how the market shifts. That's how tech develops. That's how the motoring industry develops. So, yeah, that's kind of like my opinion on the matter. Let me know what you think, all right? Down in the comment section, would you buy this bike? Even though you own a ZZR1400 yourself, it's in your garage, would you buy this? Pretend that you haven't got either and you had a choice of the Hayabusa or this. Would you get this? I'd be surprised if any of you said that you'd get one of these over the Hayabusa. I mean, are looks really that much of a determining factor? I mean, Kawasaki clearly think it is. I don't know. Looks are important. Don't get me wrong. Color schemes are important. Looks are important. But that's just aesthetic. Everything else is more important to me anyway. Like my ZX-9, I would have preferred if it was a green one. It's red. I don't care. The experience is the same. A red one or a green one is the same. It's still a Ninja. I still love it. But yeah, I would have preferred it to have been green. And of course, I can always spray paint it if I want to. You know, I'm probably not going to, but it's something I could do. But yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. And unless Kawasaki decide to do a refreshed model with some updated features, I'm not going to be able to ever recommend any of these from brand new. Now, if we're looking used, let's say your budget is under 10k, then out of the ZZR1400 and the Hayabusa, you're going to be looking at a second generation on both. I would personally go for the ZZR1400 at that point, just because it is a better experience. It is a more modern experience. I mean, when did the second generation Hayabusa come out? 2008, yeah. Second generation Hayabusa, 2008 to 2020. So, yeah, the ZZR1400, pretty much from 2012 onwards, you're looking at a ZZR that is more modern, that is faster than a second generation Hayabusa. I mean, under 10 grand, I mean, you're looking at probably 2020 and below, but did the Hayabusa come out in 2020, a third gen? I can't remember. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Maybe it's 2021. But at that point, it can be a little more difficult, and you can take or leave either of them, but my personal preference would be a ZZR1400 at that point, if you're looking on the used market at any of the generations, except for second generation Hayabusa and first generation ZZR1400. You know, second gen's a little bit better. You know what I'm trying to say, all right? If you the better generation of that particular model is probably the better buy. But yeah, there you have it, everyone. Thank you ever so much for watching this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Would you buy one of these over the Hayabusa? I struggle to believe that you would, but hey, I've been wrong before. So let me know what you think down in the comment section. Let's leave a like on this video. Let's see if we can get 100 likes on this one. I'd really, really appreciate it if you could do that for me. It's totally free. Hit that subscribe button. Totally free for you, but it really helps us out, all right? So check if you think you're subscribed as well. Double check, make sure you are, because I've seen it myself before on the channels that I subscribe to on YouTube. I think I'm subscribed to them and I'm actually not. So double check that for me. I'd really, really appreciate it. Anyway, thanks again ever so much for joining me on this little discussion here, taking a look at the 2024 ZZR1400, and we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.